Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to have a look at photo mode, which is a fairly recent addition to Crayta. It came along with the Neon Coast Battle Pass and it's a great addition that allows you to basically be able to take a photo either in editor in the create mode or when you're playing a game. So right now I'm playing Tutorial Springs, which is the hub that I made in order to link my players to the experiences and the games that I make for the tutorial. But this Tutorial Springs hub I think has got a lot of potential for taking some nice photos. So let's look at how we can take photos in Crayta. To start with, open the photo mode by pressing P on the keyboard. This has now opened our camera. And you can see that my camera is now detached from my player. So when I move the mouse, it's not my player that's looking around, it's a camera which is separate from the player. I can move the camera as if I'm controlling my drone in the game creator, which is basically WASD to move forwards, backwards, W and S, and A and D to strafe. And I can move the camera up and down too, with E to go up and Q to go down. So if you don't use the drone very much in create mode, or you're new to Crayta and making games, then you may need to take a little bit of time to get familiar with that. But once you do, it doesn't take very long, and I'm sure you'll be up to speed with that in no time. Now that we've sort of conquered moving our camera around, let's take a photo. So to take a photo, I can do that by pressing the space button. So I can take plenty of photos. I can take as many as I like, or as many as my hard drive will allow, and that photo is then saved external to Crayta, so it's actually saved on your computer. If I wanted to get hold of that photo, I can press the left Alt button on my keyboard, which brings up this photo menu here. And now I'm no longer in control of my camera, I'm in control of this mouse and this photo menu over here. So if I want to go back to controlling my camera, I press left Alt again, and I'm back to controlling my camera. So we were going to go and take a look at where the photo's saved. So to do that, go to the Settings tab over here on the right and click the View Photos button. This will momentarily close Crayta, well, just sort of minimize it, and open up your File Explorer in the location where your photos are stored. The higher the number here is the later the photo. So photo Crayta screenshot 00123, that was the most recent photo I took. To view it, I can double click that, and there we go, there's the photo. And I can cycle through the different photos that I've taken with left and right. That's just a normal Windows thing. Cool, so my photo has been taken and it's stored here. Now if I want to go back to the game, all I need to do is just close that, and that should take me back to Crayta. And remember, I was in camera mode and I was in the photo menu there. So there's some other cool features that you might want to explore with the camera to help you get that perfect shot. So let's have a look at those. Pressing the left Alt again brings up this photo menu. And let's start at the left hand side here with the poses. So the poses tab allows me to change my character's pose. So let's first of all make sure that I can see my character nicely. There we go, move the camera here, press the left Alt, and I can pose my character in one of these poses. Now, if I like, I can choose to use the pose camera, which is where there's a camera position that is specifically chosen for each pose. So, for example, here's one for this pose, and here's the camera position for this pose. So that can be a fun thing to do. If you have chosen to use the pose camera and then close the photo menu, you'll find that you can now orbit the focal point, which is your player. So by moving the mouse, you're now orbiting the player, and you can press you can move the mouse to do that. You can still take photos with spacebar. Unbeknownst to you, you have now entered what's called selfie mode. So if I press the left Alt again and go to the camera tab, you can see this mode is now set to selfie, whereas by default it was set to fly. So this is flying, where we had WASD and E and Q to move our camera about. And selfie mode was where we orbit our character like this. In selfie mode, you've got an additional property here. Let's go through these properties quickly. We'll start in fly mode. So the FOV stands for field of view, and essentially that's the angle that you have your peripheral vision. So the wider the angle, the more you can see that's around you, but it's still on the same screen size. So it feels like you're zooming out a little bit. Whereas if you make this field of view lower, so a smaller and narrower angle, that means you can see less peripheral, so the angle is getting smaller from your peripheral vision, and so subsequently it feels like you're zooming in because you can see less. There we go. If I can't remember what it was to start with, I can just press this reset to defaults button and that will return it to what it was by default. Another cool thing I could do is change the roll angle of the camera, and this can help to bring us some really cool dynamic shots. So down here, and then change that roll angle so we've got some cool photography going on. Again, reset to defaults, and I didn't know if you noticed, but I changed to selfie mode very quickly there. So selfie mode or fly mode, I can press these arrows to change between them, but selfie mode has got this additional property, selfie distance, which is essentially like if you're holding a selfie stick and how far away that selfie stick goes. So the higher the number, the further away it is. Cool. So plenty of photos taken there. The final tab here in the photo menu is the settings tab. And in here we can set a timer. So if you're taking a photo with other people, this is a cool feature to try and time things and get your friends to work together to make a photo composition. So it can be 0 seconds, which is instant and default, 3 seconds delay or 5 seconds delay. There's the 5 seconds delay, for example. Another cool thing to look at is this toggle thirds grid. This brings me nicely on to talk a little bit about composition. So when we're talking about photography and composition, composition is essentially a few ideas, sort of guidelines that professional photographers or photographers might recommend to make your photos look more aesthetically pleasing, tell a story more dynamically, be more interesting, that kind of thing. And what we have here is our thirds grid. One of the guides for composition is this idea of the rule of thirds. And what that essentially is subjects or interesting focal points or things you want to bring to your viewers' attention. Ideally try and place those where the lines intersect. So for example, I could put my character here on this third, and I might want to on this right hand third line, and I might want that character to be exactly in the middle like that, or I could do something like position them exactly on an intersection between two lines. So notice the difference. We've got the idea of centering the player like this, which looks like that. Or we've got the idea of maybe positioning the player like this, which is a little bit more interesting and adds a little something. If I go to my photos now, so let's go here and click view photos. Let's explore what the difference looks like between those two. So this is the one where I've done it pretty basically, just the focal point is in the center of the picture, and that's quite cool. But way more interesting is this idea of the rule of thirds. I've positioned the focal point at the intersection of two of those thirds, so in the bottom right corner. And then that's given me an opportunity to have some more dynamic stuff going on. Maybe we're now looking at what the character is looking at. So in this one, we're looking at the character. In this one, we're kind of looking at the character, but we're kind of joining them on their exploration into the sunset or whatever. So that's like one of those compositional rules, and there's a bunch of other ones as well. Things like leading lines. So you may find that in photos you take that have lines coming from the edge, they kind of lead the viewer's eye in a direction. And so they could be really helpful for drawing viewers' attention to something. Remember, when someone's looking at a photo, their eyes are trying to find something to specifically look at. And so leading lines can help with that. Rule of thirds can help with that. Things like contrast. So where you've got bright things next to dark things, that can also draw the eye. For example, this bar here right in the center is some bright neons on a quite a dark background. It's the same with the sun there. That's quite bright compared to the surroundings. And so those sorts of things really draw the eye, and they can very much give a focal point to your image. So that's just a few suggestions to do with some photography composition that was kind of brought on by looking at this toggle thirds grid. So that's why there's a thirds grid, and that's how you can use it. Another cool thing you can do is use it to either line up the sort of the horizon of your game world. So you can choose whether to have the sky as 2/3 or you could have the ground as 2/3. And there's some things you can explore with that. So one other thing I'd like to just mention is there is these poses within that menu, but this doesn't stop you from being able to access your social actions. So remember, you can still do things like shake baby shake with your pineapple, kind of bring some pineapple joy into the tutorial springs here. Just going to get one with that plane going overhead. There we go. So that's photo mode. I hope that was interesting and helpful. The photos you will find really helpful for things like adding to your game's loading screen, creating your game card, which is what's visible to people before they jump into your game. So exploring how to make some really enticing photography for that. And also, of course, sharing on social media. If you want to, you can head over to discord.gg/Crayta and put your photos up on our screenshots and screenshots channel that we've got there. You could also stick them on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag Crayta Photography, all one word. And if you follow that hashtag, you'll find there's plenty of other people doing the same thing, putting up their photos from Crayta. I hope this tutorial has been useful, and I really look forward to seeing all of your photos and cool ideas for composition in Crayta.